Hey everybody, my name is VX5Voltage, and in this video I'm going to be giving an in-depth review of Bandai's In Action OffShoot series Code Geass Lelouch of the Rebellion Knightmare Frame Sutherland figure. This figure is from 2008 and is almost a decade old, but with Code Geass coming into prominence again with the announcement of the new series, Lelouch of the Resurrection, or R3, whatever your particular preference is on that, I figured it'd be nice to go over some of the Knightmare Frame figures and some model kits actually they've released over the years that are actually pretty good, I feel. So we'll start off with a basic one here, the Sutherland. This is from the In Action OffShoot line, which I believe is now defunct or not doing anything these days, but they used to make a few of the Knightmare Frame figures for Code Geass when it was at the height of its popularity back in the day. So here's the figure in the box, fairly basic packaging. You have the window showing the figure there. All the accessories are kind of shoved to the side so you don't really see them. You got the Code Geass logos here, In Action OffShoot, and Bandai Knightmare Frame Sutherland. I'm not sure what this kind of winged insignia thing is all about. It's weird. And the side, same basic thing, and on the top as well. On this side, they actually kind of have it like a book cover design. So if you're a mint in box collector and you want to display these on the shelf, you could just have it sat like this and you'd be able to pick out which one you want because it has a picture of the figure and its name. So that's pretty cool. Although I'm not sure what this whole green secondary colour that goes on for the box is all about. I know the main colour itself is meant to be the colour of the Knightmare Frame itself, but yeah, I'm not sure what all that green's all about. And then on the bottom there's just a bunch of readables and stuff because I cannot speak no foreign. And the back here you've got the various product photos showing you what you get and all the features that it can do, and then there's actually some specs up there showing you the height and the weight of the frame. Now, a couple of things I want to point out is that the pictures for these are basically the stock photos that you'll find if you're purchasing this online. But it's actually some sort of prototype model that they did before initial release. If you look closely at the pictures on the back here and then you look at the figure in the box, you can see that there is some differences, which I will point out, but it's nothing too major to the point where I'd say it's a deal breaker or, you know, it's misleading. It's just some slight alterations that they probably had to do, maybe because they were rushed for time or something went wrong before release. But that's just something I want to point out. That's just something I wanted to point out. So if you are buying these guys from an online retailer, you're most likely going to see these pictures, and then once you get the actual figure in hand, it may look a little bit different. But enough going on about the box. Let's get on to the actual figure itself, because that's what we're here for. And here he is all out of the packaging. Now, for those of you who are unaware of the Sutherland or not familiar with Code Geass, the Knightmare Frame Sutherland was basically the Britannian military mainline nightmare of the series. We didn't really see a whole lot of it after the first season. It was mainly negated to background in the battles. We saw a lot of them get destroyed, so we didn't get a whole lot of opportunities to see it up close and take in all of its detail, but I'm very surprised and pleased with the amount of detail that is actually in this figure. It's very well done. You can see on the front of the body they have various panel linings going on in the crotch armor and the arms, also a little bit of panel grooving on the legs. You can see there's a little bit of lining on the thigh armor. The land spinners do have nice detail in there as well. Very nice sculpt. On the back here there is detail. It's not as outlined as the front is per se, but it is there. I think this was a minor oversight on Bandai's part, but the detail is there. And it's overall just a very nice sculpt. I really like it a lot. All the proportions are right. The body shape is pretty much spot on. The cockpit's very nice as well. You can see there's some sculpted details onto the back of the cockpit and even the front. So it's very, very nice. The head mold is also really well done as well. Even though I feel the head is the part that was most downgraded from the product photos I looked earlier, it still looks very nice and very much like the Sutherland that we saw in the anime series. Every little part of it is very good. They've got the shape right, they have the two kind of prongs sticking out of the back of the head. You can see that there is a little bit of detail even sculpted into the back of those, which is very, very nice. I did not expect them to go above and beyond and put that detail in there. There is a little bit of paintworks on the head. You can see that there is some red paint going on for the fact sphere eyes. The two prongs coming out the front have a little bit of black paint. I believe those were supposed to be air intakes. And then the actual eyes on the head, there's a little bit of glossy black paint to kind of give it this glass kind of feel, which we would expect because it is very mechanical looking and very menacing looking actually. So the head is honestly really well done on this figure, captures the Sutherland feel very, very well, and I like it a lot. Just to give you a quick height scale here, the Sutherland stands, I'd say, just shy of 5 inches, maybe 4.5 inches, so it's not the most tallest figure in the world, but it certainly is very nice for what it is. I'll just go over the articulation for the Sutherland here. It's not the greatest in the world. I feel there's areas they could have done a little bit better, but I'll show you what it has regardless. So for the head, you have this hinge going on here. Look up and down, can go down about that much and can go up about that far. The cockpit kind of does get in the way, but yeah, that's about as much as it's going to go. And then there is obviously the swivel that allows him to look left and right. Would have preferred if there was a little bit of ball joint to get a little bit of tilt movement, but it's not the worst thing in the world. For the arms, there is a big ball joint in the actual shoulder. Kind of gives this a little bit of a butterfly effect because there's also a hinge in the shoulder curve. And then there's also a hinge for the shoulder armor. So it's kind of meant to be there so it doesn't get in the way of the articulation. It helps, but occasionally it will prevent some movement in the arms because it is quite a big, beefy armored design. There's also a swivel in the actual bicep itself, and then the elbows have a double hinge going on. You can get about that much out of it. Still pretty good regardless. And then the hands themselves, they have this little, very small ball joint. You can move it around a wee bit, and I just pop one of the hands off here. That's what it looks like. A very small little thing, but you can interchange the hands that it comes with pretty well. The waist, there is only a swivel. No little ball joint in there. I feel a ball joint would have been nice, but I feel if they were to add a big ball joint articulation in there, it would have thrown the balance of the figure off a little bit, but maybe that's just me being a little bit nitpicky. Then the legs, there's a lot of articulations in the leg. This is where the real meat of your poses, if you get this figure, are going to come from. So big ball joint in the actual thigh itself. You can go forward that much, go back about that much, and you get a pretty good range of movement. You can spread out about that much. The knees on a very sturdy hinge. It's not really going to come with it well. It's very much bolted tight. And then there is also a little bit of a ball joint movement going on here, so you can tilt the knee from side to side, forward and back slightly. Did not expect this, honestly. Did not know it was there. Very surprised, but it does help, I guess, if you're doing the more kind of dynamic poses. You can shift the knee a little bit, so that's cool. And then the foot, there's a little bit of a double ball joint hinge going on. So the hinge pushes the foot forward and pushes it back, and then the actual ball joint just helps with the all-around movement. And then the land spinners are on a little ball joint. They do their job. You can flip them up, flip them down. You can push them in about that much, spread them out about that much, and then the wheel itself is on a hinge and it can rotate as you would expect. So pretty good articulation for a very basic figure. You can get a lot of good dynamic poses out of this. So yeah, that's pretty good overall. Now there is some gripes that I do want to go over this figure before I get on to the accessories that it comes with. I did already point out the lack of detail outlining on the back and the head and a bit of the elbows and the thighs there. That's kind of an easy fix if you have a very fine tip Gundam marker. The only real gripe I have with this figure is the solid and flexible bit on the two kind of prongs that come out the head. You can see that they are a very flexible, soft plastic. Now the problem with this is that the way that these guys are packaged, those usually tend to get very warped in the packaging. This one's not too bad, but I have seen some photos of the kind of head prong pieces being like really badly like that. And so that's a bit of a problem. I mean, you could technically fix it if you can do the whole hot and cold water trick. It might help it. That's just something I wanted to point out, is that those two head pieces, or head prongs, whatever you want to call them, they may get warped, so just prepare for that. Now, as for the accessories, you do get quite a lot for your money's worth with this figure. You get 4 sets of hands. These are the 2 completely closed fist hands, kind of punching hands. Then you get 2 slightly open grip hands, kind of in a C-shaped position, sort of at rest hands. And then finally you get 2 of the very open grip hands. These hands are used for gripping the big weapons like the assault rifle, which you can hold pretty well. As you can see, it does have the adjustable front grip, so you can actually have it if you want your Sutherland to be a left-handed or a right-handed Knightmare. And obviously they are also used for gripping the giant cannon bazooka, and you can hold that pretty well as well, although the way that the weapon is designed, you have to pose it exactly like this, but the actual grips are adjustable, and there is a little bit of articulation in the actual handle as well, just to kind of help with posing. It's not showing too well in this, but it is there. You can kind of see I am moving it quite a bit. The detailing on the weapons themselves is pretty good. They're just cast in this generic grey and silver plastic, but you can see that the detailing and the sculpts are there, and they do have the adjustable front grips as well. A little bit of paintwork on them wouldn't have gone amiss, but it's no biggie. They are still quite nice weapons regardless. You also get 2 of the Stun Tonfa Baton arm blades. These are pretty nice. They have a little hinge that allows them to flip out from the arm, and they plug in to both of the arms via 2 little peg holes. As you can see, they're on the bottom of the arm. Would have honestly preferred if there was just one, but they hold pretty well, and the actual hinge on the blade, I can't get it back in now. The actual hinge on the blade is very sturdy. It's not, you know, flipping out over everywhere. So that's pretty cool. Very awesome accessory, and you get 2 of these, which is even better. And the last little piece you get is the open Faxsphere headpiece. This is very nice. It has some nice paintwork going on there, the gold metal, and then the red eye dot in the middle. Awesome little addition to the head, and you just pop that out. It's on quite a sturdy peg. You can see there's a peg hole there, and then you just pop the closed piece back in there. It's quite a small little piece, so I'd just be careful where you put it. You don't want to lose it. And there you go, that's how you interchange them. Silly me that I almost forgot, there is one last feature that the Sutherland does have, and that is the actual opening cockpit. You just open up the hatch and the seat slides out. Pretty nice addition, honestly. There's a little bit of sculpted detail inside the cockpit, but you can't really see it. You don't get any sort of minifigure to display it on the seat. It's just a nice bonus feature they gave us. So that's pretty cool. You just pop it in there. Here's a final general size comparison. It's up against the Robot Damacy Spirits Vincent figure. They're roughly the same height. The Vincent is slightly taller, as you can see, but it looks okay. I mean, it kind of makes sense because the Vincent's meant to be a more higher tech and powerful Knightmare, so it would make sense why the Vincent it's just slightly taller than the Sutherland, but they are overall roughly the same height. Here he is next to a 6-inch Star Wars Deluxe Series Stormtrooper, barely holding a candle to the Stormtrooper. Again, is barely reaching that 5-inch mark, so clear height difference in those figures. So overall, the Sutherland is a pretty well put together figure. The detailing is there, and the aesthetics captures the likeness of the Knightmare very, very well, even though we didn't see a whole lot of it in the anime. And the articulation is also there and very good when you take into consideration its age. Now, is it the perfect figure? No, there are a couple of things that I wish they would have addressed, like the lack of detail outlining on the back, the fact that the head, or the back of the head, tends to get a bit warped in the packaging, and also a couple little tidbits here and there, but it's nothing major, honestly, and it's a very good figure if you are a fan of Code Geass, Knightmare Frames, or just general good mechs. These are definitely good army builders. I have quite a few of these myself, and I'm going to be collecting more. And if you are a fan of Code Geass, or just Nightmares in general, do consider picking one of these guys up. You will have to go onto the second-hand market to try and find these guys. Check sites like AmiAmi, eBay. I know it's not everyone's preference, but you can find them on there for a decent price. So definitely consider checking the Knightmare Frame Sutherland out if you haven't already. My name's been VX5 Voltage, and if you enjoyed this review or you found it helpful, found it useful, consider dropping it a like. I'll be doing more Knightmare Frame reviews in the future, as well as some other collectible products. But my name's been VX5 Voltage, have a good one, and peace out.